Now, Qatar Airways has launched a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against 4 Arab countries that have imposed a blockade on the Gulf state, banning Qatari aircraft from their airspace. The airline seeking $5 billion in compensation from Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates. Now, the countries imposed a land, sea and air blockade in 2017, and the UN's top court ruled last week in favour of Qatar, approving the jurisdiction of the International Civil Aviation Organisation to hear the case. Kyle Bailey joins me now live on Skype from Butler in New Jersey in the US. He's a pilot and an aviation analyst. So, Kyle, we're heading to the courts yet again, another legal case. One wonders what the chances of success will be for Qatar and how the blockading countries, who seem to perhaps have lost the argument, were able to fight this case.
So right now, there are basically 4 arbitrations that are going before the authorities, and they're going to decide the fate of this. And the simple thing is, the body who's going to decide these arbitrations has to determine if there's a clear breach of civil aviation conventions. And right now, it's just too hard to tell how the court will decide. The airline is going after $5 billion US dollars in damages, from lost profit. But there are some other obstacles here, like the coronavirus and previous U.S.-China embargo. This has been going on since 2017. So, of that award, of that $5 billion, it will be interesting to see if the court will award that full amount, because obviously there are other things out there besides this blockade that are interfering with the lack of profitability of the airline.
As a former pilot, I mean, obviously Qatar Airways is claiming $5 billion, which is a huge amount of money for things such as, I presume, the extra mileage that they've had to endure, diverted routes and the costs of flying over other countries when they needn't have had to, added fuel costs, of course, with the fluctuations in fuel costs on the global market, and flying time, which also adds to the extra costs for cabin crew and pilots. It's a huge amount of money and unusual in terms of this sort of case has never come to court before. And the claims that they're asking for are really the first time that any court would have heard about them.
That is correct. And like I said, that was $5 billion. That's a lot of money. On average, these diversions are costing the airline about 25 minutes on average time to perform these diversions around the airspace. And it's not just an airspace blockade, but they're actually also preventing the aircraft from landing at the airports within these 4 countries. So it will be interesting when the court decides, quite possibly, it could be a full ruling or a partial ruling. Perhaps they might say flyovers are permitted, but you cannot land in these countries. Perhaps they might say that you now have full access, where the airline has to be permitted to fly over and land, which will be obviously a full victory for the airline. But it will be interesting to see how the court rules in this case.
Indeed, of course, winning a court case like this can be a legal and a moral victory. The test of you might say, the test of the pudding is in the eating. Do you think Qatar, even if it wins its case, would ever recoup any of those funds? Would the blockading countries be legally obliged to actually hand over the cash?
Well, and this will also go back to what the airline is owned by the state, and they are right now just accusing the state of being a little bit too close to Iran and possibly involved in terrorist activity. So there is a burden of proof there. This will all have to be proven. Can they physically prove this in the court of law, or in this case, to the arbitration body? So that will be interesting to see also. But, as you know how courts work, everything is fact-driven and evidence-driven. So there really isn't a burden of proof to prove legitimately that, the state is potentially engaging in, terroristic activities.
We shall see what does happen. For the moment, Kyle Bailey joining us from New Jersey. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.